welcome to the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. I am your host and tour guide, Chris Carr, and in this very first episode, I've got an interview with Jack Kenna and Ellen MacNeil of the paranormal team Spirits of New England. You may also know them from shows like Haunted Case Files, Paranormal Survivor, Haunted Hospitals, My Worst Nightmare. I also have a book review for you guys a little later. It's from the man from Kiss, Paul Stanley, his autobiography called Face the Music, A Life Exposed, and we'll take a look at that. And I'll tell you guys what I've been up to. I've had some paranormal events going on, and I want to share maybe an EVP or a little Spirit Box session, maybe both. We'll do that a little later. Jack and Ellen were investigating just outside of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, when I interviewed them at the Lookout House, which sounds great. So I decided we'd do a little Gettysburg thing tonight. So put on your seatbelt. Here we go. Let's get this mother rolling. July 1st, 1863. For 3 long blood-soaked days, America would fight her most costly battle ever to take place on home soil. Robert E. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia was attempting to move north and was met by the forces of Major General George Meade's Army of the Potomac. This leads to approximately 160,000 soldiers descending down on a small town of about 2,400, a town known as Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. The nickname Old Sawbones was one of many unflattering names given to the army doctors of Civil War camps by the unfortunate soldiers struck down by wounds or illnesses. The most common medical response to a bullet wound in an arm or a leg was amputation, wounds that by more modern standards would seem minor. During the Civil War era, surgeons had no knowledge of the science of antibiotics or the way communicable diseases spread. Unsanitary working conditions and dirty surgical tools led to countless easily preventable deaths. To make things even worse, doctors often distributed healing mixtures to soldiers that were heavy in lead, mercury, and other poisonous materials that could speed death along rather than ward it off. More limbs were removed during the Civil War era than any other point in American history. Improvements in ammunition saw to this. The mini-ball used with Springfield and Enfield musket rifles at the time were far more accurate and had a longer range than musket balls of previous wars. They were grooved and tended to carry the bacteria that causes gangrene. The soft lead would expand on impact and shatter bones so badly the bone fragments would often sever major arteries, mangling their victims' limbs, and any injury to the torso or head most often resulted in death. Old sawbones indeed. There were more than 50,000 casualties in Gettysburg alone. The unlucky soldiers were either killed, wounded, or maimed, or just simply went missing. Coming up next is the interview with Jack Kenna and Ellen MacNeil. Stay with it. The audio quality is a little shaky, especially at the beginning, but it gets better as it goes along. Some really good information, and when that's done, I'll come back and discuss some of the points of that. Here we go.
So you guys got in last night. You were telling me you had some paranormal adventure already.
Yeah, we got invited by our friends Steve and Pamela Berry to come down and investigate their new bed and breakfast forum here. It's called the Outlook Bed and Breakfast, or the Outlook House Bed and Breakfast in Espers, Pennsylvania. So came down last night. I'd never been here before. They gave us a bunch of background information on it. And this is in an area where during the Battle of Gettysburg, the Confederates came through this area and came through the house. Took stuff. They were here for a while, whatever. And there's some deaths in the house. So there's 5 kids that died because this was it was family. Right? So, yeah, with 5 kids, and what was the family's? I forget. But anyway, so there's 5 kids that died, stillborn. 2 died wasn't identified. It was 2 boys. They were aged like 2 or something like that.
Like 2 days of each other.
Yeah, 2 days of each other. They passed away. was no
Oh, wow.
identification of the death. The Steve and Pam have all the records from the Historical Society on the building. It's been here for well, yeah, something like that. Or before that. So anyways, when we get in last night, they tell us, there's a lot of activity, a lot of stuff goes on, bangings, this, footsteps. They've done a little bit of investigating on their own, so they're investigators themselves. But now they live here, so and they told us, there's activity in the attic, and throughout the whole house, really. So they said down the basement, they brought us to an area we said shadow figures and stuff. We just got in last night, so myself and one of our team members, Carly Ball, decided to investigate Ellen and Beck. Pretty much unconscious. Yeah, even we didn't last too long. So Carly and I decided to hit the basement, and it was around what time we had down? About 10:30. So we were down there, I think, till about 12:30, 1 o'clock. And we went in the back area where they told us they see shadow figures and people get touched and all that. And I sent her upstairs to get some batteries for me because I had forgotten them. And out of this one back room, which I kind of felt like there was something in it, I see this shadow figure come out of the doorway into the room I'm in. And I'm like, did I really see that? Just one of those deals, right? You're double guessing yourself. But
right.
Yeah. So, but then she came back down, and we sat down, and she starts seeing shadow figures. And we're using this SB7 Spirit Box. We're getting names come through. We're getting answers to questions come through. I asked how many are here, and they said 10. And the minute I started turning that device on, we tried just a K2 before that, not really getting anything. It was cold in the basement, but the minute I started communication with SB7, it got real cold. I mean, real cold. And you could feel us around, like 10, 15 degrees cold.
Mm-hmm. Like they were on that.
Yeah, they were like on that thing like white on rice. So, and we had a lot of communication and stuff. And then I forget what we started asking. We started asking something. They really liked Carly, number one. Do you like Carly? She's a younger girl. And I said, do you like it? Yeah. And we like Carly. You want to talk to her more than me? Yeah, we want to talk to Carly. So we let that happen. And then I know what it was. I said, well, we're going to switch to something else. And I shut the SB7 Spirit Box off. Everything went dead. It's like they walked away. Like, we don't need it. So we called it a quits for the night and came back upstairs. And we were down there for maybe 2.5 hours, something like that. So we come back upstairs and stayed in the Americana room. And I was told there's footsteps. I hear footsteps up here in this room and stuff like that. So I'm laying there, and sure enough, I hear somebody walking in the room. I'm like, wait, nobody here, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And then I hear right above me is the attic. So I hear certain footsteps in the attic, like pacing back and forth, shuffling around, some things being moved. And I'm like, holy cow! All right, nothing that's scary or anything like that. It's interesting. So I kind of ignore it. I get to sleep. I did leave one camera running in the room, facing towards, because in my room, there's a door that goes up to the attic. All right, that's how you get to the attic, is through the door of this room. And so I head upstairs, I'm thinking about that. I got the camera facing the door for upstairs, and about 2 hours after all that experience, things quieted down, but 2 hours later, I hear somebody stomping across the floor in the attic, come down the stairway towards my room. I hear the door to the attic open and close, and somebody walk through the room towards the door to go out. And I'm looking and like, nobody there. It was loud. But the interesting thing is, like, in this one room, there's carpeting, but it sounded like boots on a hardwood floor. Yeah.
That doesn't seem surprising in the area you're in.
Yeah, which, could have been like a soldier, Confederate, whatever or just the original owner, because back then they wore the boots with the wooden heels and stuff.
Sure.
So that was kind of mine and Carly's experience. And then Ellen, she's sleeping downstairs on the couch. She's crashed there. And anyways, off from her is a dining room. So tell them, Ellen, what you experienced.
Well, I wasn't into a very heavy sleep at all, and I heard a chair. You know, when you stand up and you back the chair up so you can stand up and walk away. And
Sure.
I heard the chair, and I went, "Oh, okay. I guess I missed somebody coming down here. See who's comes out so we can sit and chat for a while." And we sat there, and I sat there, and I got up, and I
Nobody's there.
walked in.
Nobody's there.
Okay. When you hear a chair move,
Right.
Sure. Sure.
and there's nobody down here but me. So I said, all right, so.
And there's chairs around that table.
Yeah,
It's on a wooden floor.
It's a big dining room
So
table.
tell them what we find out the next day.
Yeah, so, we had breakfast this morning, and I was
In that room.
and I was telling Pam and Steve about what happened, and I said, it's just like when you stand up and you back the chair up so you can walk away from the table. And so I went to demonstrate it. Nothing happens.
So,
There is nothing because all the furniture has pads on the bottom. So none of the chairs had a wooden base to them. They all had those little felt pads on them. And I said, well, there goes that theory.
Yeah, we check the other rooms on each side.
Yeah, because I checked.
The other chairs are on carpets.
I checked every chair, and every single one of them had those little felt pads on the bottom. And
Wow, that's so strange. That's kind of like a residual haunting kind of thing.
Yeah, and
For a chair
there
movie.
are 3 rooms that you can walk right into each other. They flow together. And there wasn't another chair that was on wood. The rest of them were all on carpeting. And I said, I know. You get up from your kitchen table, you hear the legs of the chair move. And I don't know what that was that I heard. I know what I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I said, what? Okay, that throws, that theory out the window, because I just naturally assumed that it was just somebody in the chair. End of discussion. No.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you guys are getting ready to go out tonight, right?
Same building. Yeah, we're in there. We're in the Americana room right now talking to you. So it's kind of neat. So actually,
Nice.
just before you called back, I did hear some walking again up in the attic. So that was interesting.
Yeah, that's a huge attic
it's
too.
It's as big as a house. So I'm gonna actually set up some equipment up there tonight. Let the cameras run. I've got some shadow detectors I'm gonna set up, especially down the basement. I've got 4 of those, so I'll set those up in different places. And there's actually another little schoolhouse that's just in the back of the building here that we're actually going to check that out too.
Yeah, they said that used to be a little telegraph office when the railroad still
Right.
ran.
Looks like a little schoolhouse.
Yeah, it's really cute, but it was a little office for the railroad station that was right next to the house
The
here.
railroad
Wow.
tracks at the end of the road. Yeah. So it's an interesting building, interesting place. And this is the first time we've been here. We're looking forward to tonight.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is just
We're all kind of excited.
a lot of love went into this building.
It's a beautiful building too. Yeah, it's a beautiful bed and breakfast for sure.
And just so I catch it for our listeners, what is the name of the building again? I know you mentioned it earlier, but I may edit and our sound quality kind of went a little crazy.
Sure. It's the Lookout House Bed and Breakfast in Aspers, Pennsylvania. It's just 20 minutes outside of Gettysburg.
Wow.
Yeah, it's very close.
It's beautiful.
And the Confederates did come through right here, going towards Gettysburg. They know they were in this house for a period of time.
Oh, and she said that they went up in the attic and went all the way up to the top and messed up all the applesauce that they had made because there are orchards everywhere around here, and they just ransacked.
Yeah, they took all the apples and then they destroyed the applesauce and stuff by sticking their hands and stuff in it, and
contaminating it.
Yeah. So that's what they did, but they took all the apples, because those were food.
And the tannery. What was the story about the tannery?
Tannery, same thing. The tannery, they went in, they took all the leather goods out of it and everything else. They grabbed everything they could. They were just scavenging everything as they were coming through.
This was right across the street from the bed and breakfast.
Yeah, literally right across the street. Yeah. So there's a lot of history.
Yeah, it sounds like it. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah, it's right on that whole vein. So,
are you guys working your way to Gettysburg, or was this the place that you intended to investigate?
No, this is the place we intended to investigate. They asked us to come down, specifically check it out for them. I've known Pam and Steve for a couple of years now. They have an event they hold every year in Gettysburg called the Battlefield Bash, Gettysburg Battlefield Bash. And I did that, I missed the first year. I did it with them last year, and now we're coming into the third year. It's a great event. It's to raise money for the wounded warriors here in Pennsylvania. And it's awesome. It also raises money for kids with cancer.
That's dedicated to one young boy that passed away.
Right.
In his memory.
Yep. So they did that. So it was a great event last year, and they hold it at the Wyndham down here, the Wyndham Hotel down here, which is a great venue for it. It's perfect. It's big. They get a lot of people coming through. They raise a lot of money. It's an awesome event. It really is an awesome event. They're doing it for the right reasons, So a lot of us volunteer our time. We come down. They don't pay us anything to do it. We just give our time, and
to give us apples.
Give us apples. Yeah. Okay, no applesauce.
Yeah.
But it's a really good event. I really like it.
Very well known vendors and teams and
Scott Porter was down there last year with it too, and
Tennessee Wraith Chasers.
Mike
Gonzalez.
No, Mike from we call him Chief Mike from Ghost of Shepherdstown. He was at it last year, so he had a bunch of those people. Actually, there's quite a few people from Ghost of Shepherdstown last year.
It sounds like a lot of fun.
It is. It really is. And like I said, it's a great cause. It's a good event. I'm just throwing it out there because I go to it too, and it's a blast. But you didn't really call us to talk about that stuff. You called to talk to us about paranormal investigating and all that.
Well, sure. No, Gettysburg is very interesting to me, and I decided to make that kind of a theme. Seeing as you guys were there.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. I haven't been myself yet. I've been wanting to go forever. It's kind of like a mecca, a paranormal mecca.
Oh yeah.
One of a handful. So I hope to get there this year. So I'm jealous.
Well, this is my first time really investigating any place down here. I've been down several times to the battlefield and stuff, which is just an interesting just trip in itself. Because you go on there, people experience stuff all daylight, down there. I picked up on a lot of stuff very first. Even now, I go back. Like if you're on the Confederate side, there's the time I first came down, and it was like this time of year, and I forget what I was down this way for. But anyways, I decided to drive through the battlefield, and I end up on the Confederate side, and I get out, park, and I walk down to where they were at the edge of the wood line for Pickett's charge, and looking across at the edge of the woods, looking across that field, and suddenly it hits you what they thought or what their feelings were. It just overwhelms you. You're looking across, and you can see those. You can actually see still. They got some government placements up on the high ground there, up on Round Top, Little Round Top, and you can see them from there. So you think about these guys looking across that field, going, I got to cross that field. I'm going to make it across that field. You know, and you start sensing what they sensed, and it was a bit of sadness, but it was also a thing of duty. You know, and you're going to do it somehow. You're going to make it work. You know, and it's gonna happen. But at the same time, you go, I'm not going to make it. You know, you're not going to make it across that field. And I actually started to cry, you know, because it's like these guys were dedicated. They believed their generals. We're gonna go do it, you know. And
the numbers are amazing. The amounts of casualties, you know, 50,000 casualties plus in Gettysburg alone. 160,000 soldiers flooding into a town of 2,400 people. Like,
that's right.
What could that have been like?
It's not a huge town. No, it's not a huge town. You know? And even you drive through the town, all the buildings that were here then are still pretty much. I mean, it's mostly all the original buildings. You know, they're all marked what they are and who lived there and everything else. So it's a very interesting place. Even some of the shops used to be the old shops, you know, or they used to be somebody's home, and converted to a shop now. So it's all still here. You know, it hasn't changed really that much.
Right.
There's some new hotels and things like that, and the outskirts, but the main town really hasn't changed very much at all. Walmart. There's a Walmart. Yeah. When I was there,
there's a Walmart.
There's a Walmart everywhere. Yeah, Walmart. You know.
Well, that's too bad.
Talking about that. Like, after the battle, they had to go to Walmart to get their.
So can you tell us that particular Walmart was built on a?
Yeah. Pam and Steve told us that.
Was it a hospital?
Yeah. Yes, it was a Confederate grounds for the Confederate hospital. The Walmart was built on the grounds of the Confederate hospital.
Oh my God!
Now, obviously, it's a temporary hospital, right? So, or they'd taken over a building or something.
Sure.
They all were in that location for their field hospital. So it's built on top of where all that trauma took place. You know.
Sure. Imagine the trauma, the body parts,
you go to that Walmart. Yeah.
There's a lot of things there.
That Walmart has activity in it. So
sporting goods.
Only you, Ellen. Yeah, but they say there's stuff that goes on. But you know, we were in there, and I didn't really think about it, so I didn't try to feel if there was anything going on. But you got to get down here someday. Even when you go
this year, I'm planning on it.
Yeah.
What would you bring to like an outdoor investigation? Say you were going to like the Devil's Den. You wanted.
Well, you're not really supposed to bring equipment in there. Not without special permission. They don't want you doing that stuff. Okay. So what I suggest to people, if you want to try to get away with something, put some apps on your cell phone. Bring your cell phone. Your cell phone has a digital recorder, right? Actually, they're pretty high end these days. They're all high def, you know. So you can use your phone to record audio. You know, do an EVP session. Nobody's going to say nothing. You got a camera on it. You got a video camera on it. But some of the apps, I use a couple apps that can actually work, right?
Sure. Actually, I know you've taken a lot of flack for using Ghost Radar before.
And I don't care because I know what I've done with it for 7 years.
Well, I have a theory about that. I do, and I think all
well, you can even download
all these things. They have more to do with the people using them than the app itself. You know.
Well, I always say this. I mean, I tell people this, you can use anything to communicate, right? The apps, there's a way to use them. I talked to the guys who designed a lot of them. Actually, one guy who designed Ghost Radar, his name is Jack too. I got talking to him, and you have to have the phone in airplane. Otherwise, you're going to get false signals. You know, you have to let it warm up. Once it goes, the way the actual application works, the way the program runs, is a warm up period, 10 minutes, right, up to 10 minutes, where it runs through a test cycle. Okay, and you'll see stuff come up. You'll see words come up. It goes, you wait for that to cycle through, and it'll go quiet, which it does. After and it depends. It's 5-10 minutes. You'll see that app go quiet, nothing coming through, right? Just dead, right? And then you start asking your questions, start talking about something, watch for any activity on it. And I always tell people, it doesn't, just because something may be happening, doesn't mean you're talking to a ghost at that point or spirit. Take it with a grain of salt, right? But pay attention to it, because what happens is, if you seem to be getting responses like with the blips that come on the ghost radar, you have different colored blips. Well, sometimes what we'll do is say, give me 2 blips, 3 yeses, and 1 for no, right? And you'll start to get that. And you'll ask the question, you'll ask it again. You'll get a consistently response to it. We just had that happen last night. Carly and I down on Facebook. Right? Yeah. So it's all how you use it. Pay attention to it. But it can help you. All these things can help you to ask better questions and help you to investigate better. Once you seem to hit on something, keep following that train of thought. Right?
Thought being the key word. I think it's the thought. I think your belief in it is the next factor. You're comfortable using the tool. Like there was a time I was, maybe a little snotty toward all the apps and thought, random word generators, this and that. It's just random words. But I've seen them work. I'm kind of now a believer in this. I totally believe you. I think in the right hands, these things are great.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing to me that proved that it worked wasn't just the app itself. We were getting responses on the app, and we were catching EVPs at the same time.
Mm-hmm. It's validation.
Well, one I like to throw out to people is, which is kind of a classic response now. We're investigating. It was at the college in Boston. Fisher College. Yeah, Fisher College in Boston, which is an old mansion. And there's a husband and wife that built it, stuff like that. And I had forgotten her name at the time, but there's 2 of us are talking in the library area, and I say, can you tell me your name? Through the device, it says Alice. I'm like, okay, so that's your name. And then when I reviewed the audio later on, you hear the device, you hear me ask that question, you hear the device, what's your name? The device says Alice. They say, so that's your name. EVP, a female voice, very nice, clear. Yes. She spoke. Not only did the device say her name, she confirmed it through an EVP that was her. And the thing of it is, Alice Orman King was the wife of Henry King, who built the home. So you tell me, she say, did she speak through that device and tell me her name and then confirm it with an EVP? Or is it all in my imagination?
I don't think anything's random, really.
Yeah, I mean, but it's confirmation.
You can't have, or I should say, coincidences don't necessarily exist. It's very hard to get coincidences like that.
Right, especially when there was no female in the room. We get a female.
Yeah, right.
Right. And
I don't know what the that X factor is. I don't know if it can be explained with quantum physics. I suspect the Institute of Noetic Science could say something about it. I think it has something to do with the power and intention. To contact the spirit, but I think they do work. I've seen EchoVox work, and people I respect use EchoVox and get amazing results. And that is a random word generator. It draws from a bank of words.
But you when you start to consistently get responses to your question with a random bank of words, what is that?
Right, exactly. They're extremely relevant, and there's other things.
Is it still just random, or is something communicating through it? And that's the other thing. When we use these, I'll explain to whoever might be there what this is and how they can communicate to it.
I think the power lies somewhere between the person using it and the spirit. And just having the belief and confidence in the device that it will work. I think it's part of it. It's like I love my Shack hack, right? When I use it, I get really good results with it. I've gotten some amazing things. But I think if I gave it to somebody else that didn't believe in it at all and just said that's just the radio scanning channels, they wouldn't get the same results.
I beg to differ with that a little bit because I've seen it happen.
Yeah, sorry. Well, that might be really.
It's what happened with the Ghost Radar, where they didn't believe in it. And like, keep an open mind. You ask the question, and see what happens.
Absolutely,
and we
keep an open mind. I think that's key. If there was a lesson learned from that, I think it is to keep an open mind.
Right, just keep an open mind. And we were in a where was it? Anyway, so it had to do with the military, and they started asking this question, and what freaked the guy out because he was American Legion, so he's asking questions, and they're like, oh, who's here? Well, I didn't realize it, but a name came through, and I kind of had to look at his face. He goes, well, all right, if that's you, then what was your rank and all that? And he looks at me after, because we had a bunch of responses. This thing really works, doesn't it? I said, oh no, tell me why. Everything he just said was accurate about that individual. That his rank at the time, or when he was in the military, was sergeant. Mm-hmm. Okay. His name, I don't want to say it's Mike. I can't remember now. This was a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. And he was asking him about what he did there at the American Legion, and he was getting responses that were accurate. So it's like it turned a non-believer into a believer. He goes, "Where do I get download this app from?" From saying all this junk and this garbage to where do I download this app from?
Yeah,
I
said, awesome. That's awesome.
Take it with a grain of salt because
it's like showing non-believers in ghosts on EVP or something, and it just really there was no one else in the room. Like there has to be a reason why that voice is there.
That's right.
There is,
but it's always more than piece of evidence that's proof. That indicates you're talking to the spirit. It's not just one thing; it's several things. Catch an EVP, have responses on the device. You maybe have personal experience, you get touched, or somebody else gets touched, or whatever, or something.
Absolutely. So you guys are on Spirits of New England together, and Ellen, I was hoping you could tell us about the beginnings of that team and how you guys got started, because I know you're a co-founder of that team.
She is a founder.
A founder. And tell us how it started and how you got into this.
Yeah, well, it was, I was one of the gazillion people that got addicted to taps when they, I'd always watched horror movies, always watched anything ghost related, and when taps came on, I said, that's what I want to do. This is what I want to get into, and I want to help people. When you have a situation and you have no one to talk to about it, to get advice or just to share experiences with, it's very frustrating. And TAPS made it okay to be fascinated by ghosts and to want to pursue, as they would say, what's out there? Why is this happening? What has happened to this person? Why is this person coming back? And at that time, everybody wanted to have a group. Everybody had to have a investigation, and you don't know who to believe. You don't know what to do. You don't know how to start a team, and you don't realize at the time how hard it is. Anybody can say, "Okay, I got a flashlight. Let's go." No, that's not what you do. You've got a client that's trusting you and confiding in you and wants validation that you understand what they're seeing and hearing in their own home. And they don't believe what's happening, so that means that their neighbors aren't going to believe them, which means everybody's going to think they're crazy. So they're looking to us to say, hey, you know what? We did catch evidence here. We did find validity with what you've told us. And we went to the TAPS boot camps. We went to Mount Washington. I said, I trust these guys. And 10 years later, I still love Jason and Grant. I think they're just, people can say, oh, I don't like this one. I don't like them. I don't believe in this. That's fine. That's your issue. It's not mine. So don't make me feel defensive because I respect them.
Sure,
and
sure.
And if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing.
Yep, absolutely. They really broke a lot of ground for sure. And they brought the idea of like in search of into real time for everyone.
I mean, when we would go up to Mount Washington for their events, I would bombard them with questions. Like what did they do to get an answer? What happened to them that they were able to have a similar situation and still be able to help the client?
Yeah. So that's what we got to do.
It's funny because when you talk to people at events, they're like, I have to ask you this. I'm like, okay, go ahead. And like, why do you do this and you don't get paid? And I said, okay, let's look at the big picture here. I can either get paid and make up stuff and just make a big drama scene about it. That's not what I want to do. I want to find out what's going on in your house. And I would rather get a hug from a client that is grateful and relieved and feels safe in their own home than I would to get a check. I don't want your money. I want your trust. I want your faith.
And it's personally redeeming to know what you're doing is helping somebody, and that you're at least yourself and the people around you and me, that there is a life after death, and you see this stuff.
I want to be able to know that this person has control of their house back, has control of their life back, and knows that they're not crazy. There's something in your house. Whether it's a relative that's trying to reach out, there's always it may not be the right answer, but there's always an answer. And we go back to people's homes. We don't just say, okay, all right, we found out who it is. It was your Aunt Edna. See ya. We keep in touch with them. We want to know that they're comfortable. We want to know if Edna's made an appearance again.
We have clients that have problems too. That's one thing I've noticed. We have a form we send out. It's like a 12-page form that they fill out. We didn't originally design it, but we modified it for our Jason and Grant. Came up with a kind of contact form. And they shared it with anybody who went to the events. So we took it and modified it. But it collects a lot of information. And some of that information is medications and traumatic experiences that may have happened to them over their lifetime. And you'd be surprised if people who really want your help, they tell you everything. They tell you things they haven't told their own family. Right?
Sure. 11 pages, that covers a lot.
No,
because it also filters people that aren't serious, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, because they won't fill it out.
Exactly.
Right.
That is our one requirement.
Yeah, people that really want you to come. They definitely want you to come if they're going to go through 11 pages. That's brilliant. That's totally brilliant.
If they take the time to fill out that form, and they are inviting us into their home because they trust us. I've had people that have been like, I love your webpage because it's friendly. It's not screaming skulls and wolf heads and everything. It's like, why would I want you in my house?
I'm trying to get calmed down.
You're dripping blood. Your eyes are popping out. Why would I feel that you're going to help me in my own home?
Yes. If you ever go to our site, spiritsofnewengland.org, it's a very professional site. It talks that way. That's because that's who we are. Professional organization, ghost hunter, right? Or paranormal investigator, whatever the hell you want to call it. But you'll see it's a professional site, and the links are set up where you can find stuff and get information. Even if you don't want to talk to us, there's information on there and other sites you can link to get real information on, like, pretty much anything you want to know. Ouija boards or
Yes.
talking to spirits,
sleep paralysis, stuff like that.
Sure.
And we have some
phenomena of sleep paralysis. A lot of people talk about that. I hear younger people talk about that. My daughter talks about it. Some of her friends.
I got a phone call from somebody that, the minute I started talking to him, I was like, okay, all right, this is going to be a very odd phone call. And this person was telling me that they had spirits and demons coming out of their glove compartment in their car. And I was like,
literally, that was
really?
what they were telling us.
So I said, okay, well, I want you to fill out our form so we can get all our information so, we can help you. And, well, I don't want to fill that out. And I said, well, then, I'm sorry. We need to know as much as we possibly can before we come out so we can help you.
One thing I notice about you guys is that you're like the most stable team ever. Where teams go through, the D-word drama and they're changing members and things are constantly in fluctuation. You guys are really solid.
Yeah, well, we weren't always.
No, we've had.
Oh, you went through a phase like that too.
We've had members that it didn't work out, and
go through growing pains.
Yeah. Really, it's like growing pains, and if you're not on the same page and you not have the direction and the same results that you want, it's not going to work out, and that's okay.
I mean, I came along after somebody else got tossed away, so I'm not an original member. I'm a follow-on member, actually.
Yeah. It's true.
They always say they adopted me off the street. I was a little puppy they found on this.
He was running along the side of the road, and I said, "Slow the car down."
All right,
got him in the car.
And
that was it.
Yeah, been with them ever since. It was about a year after you guys founded yourself.
Yeah,
you're like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think you guys are doing an event at the Lizzie Borden house, right?
Yes.
Yep. That's when is
June 7th, because I'm seeing the Rolling Stones the next.
No, that's right. Yep, that's right. June 7th. Yep. So we're doing that with our good friend Lucky Belcamino is there too.
Now, I've never been to Gettysburg, and I'm ashamed to say I've never been to the Lizzie Borden house. So yeah, but I mean it's near me.
You know what happens though? You take it for granted. I lived in Fall River for like several years, and I never went. It was right there. It was like 3 blocks from me.
Oh wow! I don't feel as bad now.
I moved since. But I think I'm going to come down to that event if there's still tickets available and meet you.
Yeah, we still got tickets available right now. We didn't make it. I think we're only selling 18. I think we.
Yeah, we're like to keep it small.
Yeah, but they're moving. But we've got some tickets left. If you want to grab one, yeah, go ahead and do that.
Bring apples.
Bring apples.
Absolutely what you want. Because you don't want 50 people.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter has been there, and she's
another one of our team members.
Yeah, Sarah Campbell. She is just fascinated by it.
Yep.
But
you'll see. Yeah, we'll all be there. I mean, pretty much our whole team will be there for that event. So come on down. Yeah, we'd love to.
And there's some new projects coming out. I think Haunted Hospitals, right, is coming to the U.S.
And it's actually here right now. It just started
it
started Monday.
This
past Monday. And my sister's going to be on that. My current wife is going to be on there. Let's put it that way. Anyway.
She's going to line up.
Yeah, going to line up. Yeah, so she's on there, and my sister is also going to be on. But it started this past Monday, and Richard S. Stepp is the guy whose book it's based on. He wrote a book about haunted hospitals, and what this show is really about is current they're not closed down. They're currently existing working hospitals that staff members are experiencing things. So it was kind of tough for them to get people because these people don't want to talk because they're afraid they'll get fired. So
Right. It's a sticky situation in a way. It's like nursing homes would be wonderful to investigate, but nobody wants a paranormal team coming in a nursing home, right?
Oh God, no. Yeah.
God, no.
And people have
But a
got a lot of
hospital, you might have a little bit more leeway with, anyways.
Yeah, no, you really don't. No.
That's
Richard and I are going to be at Mass Paracon in September. We're going to have a haunted case files panel. I'm looking forward to I'm branching out on my own that night. Yeah, big girl.
Ellen's been on haunted case files this year with me. We're also together along with Sarah on the new season of A Haunting.
awesome.
That's supposed to be coming out in June, I think. I think it's going to be June or July. That's also going to be on Travel Channel now. Pretty much everything's moving to Travel Channel. And then I just also, Carly went with me. I had to go up to Quebec to film for a new show. I'm not sure when it's going to get down here to the States, but it's called My Worst Nightmare. I would say this. Interviewing as a paranormal quote expert for that one was my worst nightmare. It was this 8-hour straight interview. Yeah, usually these things are 2 to 4 hours. It was 8 hours straight, non-stop questioning about how the paranormal related to these people's nightmares, dreams, and each story is similar. The questions are very much the same, and you've got to rethink how to answer that question again in a different way that relates to that story. It was
interesting. Does that tie into like lucid dreaming and astral projection at all?
Yes, it did. Yeah, it actually did. And it was a grueling interview. Matter of fact, Michelle DeRoche, you might know who she is. She's also a Paranormal Survivor on a case file. And her and I are doing a lot together ourselves. We've got our own blog talk show now called The Outer Realm. She interviewed for it. She threw me in the bag because they were looking for another investigator because they already gone through 3 interviews with 3 supposed expert paranormal people. We don't like that term anyway, right? So, but they couldn't use any of them because the people couldn't keep up with them, right? So it was very difficult. One guy, they only got through 5 cases. 30 cases we had to go through. I don't know how many questions per case. About 200 questions or 250 questions in all. Okay. And the first guy got through 5 cases in 5 hours. And they just stopped it after that. The other two people, the one woman really didn't have a lot of answers. She didn't know whether she was trying to give more psychological answers than paranormal related answers. And the other guy they had, he got so frustrated by the end, he yelled and got angry at the producer. So they're like, we don't have a show right now. We got nobody to interview. I could get through it. And I tell you this, it was grueling. And we kind of laughed through some of it. I had to joke around just to get through it. And in the end, he goes, okay, Jack, I got one last thing. He goes, I just want your overall thought on everything we just, all these dreams, and just dreams and paranormal in general. I said, are you kidding? My freaking mind is mush right now. I said, I can't think of another thing. And then I went on to give him about another 5-10 minute dissertation. So, he's like, that's awesome, So we pulled it out, but it was fun. It was interesting, and it was grueling. It was actually grueling. But that I think is going to be a really good show in the end, and that will come out later. They're also already filming Haunted Hospitals 2. I'm getting called back to that to interview again for the cases. Don't know when yet. It's probably going to be a couple weeks, they said.
Beautiful. Do you have any new books out you want to talk about?
Haunted Hospitals. Haunted Case Files will film again too. Yep, season 3.
Yeah. I love Haunted Case Files, by the way.
And we'll be doing that again. You actually might see me and Michelle DeRoche together for a few cases. We're going to put stuff together, and you probably see me and Ellen on there again too. So yeah.
Right.
So But I'm working on a third book, slowly getting there. I've got my newest book out is Paranormal Research, A Comprehensive Guide to Building a Strong Team, which covers a lot of stuff, even how to talk to spirits, how our team approaches that with respect, and how to instigate without being mean about it by just using information you've been given. And that sometimes is, like, again, I'll go back to Fisher College where we were told, Mrs. King, she was a mean woman. Nobody liked her. They were from New York. So I used that, and I said, well, Mrs. King, hey, I heard you're a mean woman. Nobody liked you. And I said, is that true? And me and the guy who were in the library at the time heard this woman scream. It was a woman screaming loud, where I thought it was like one of the other, like Ellen and maybe a couple girls that with her from the college.
I get blamed for it.
So I go out, and it's not them, because they were down a stairway from us, and it wasn't them. It wasn't our other two investigators on the third floor, because they're too far up. But when I listen back to the recorder, it's not a scream. It's a woman's voice saying, they liked me. And when I did the research on it, Mrs. King, Alice Norman King, was well liked, and so was her husband. Turns out they weren't from New York. They were both from Boston area. They grew up there. He graduated from Harvard College. She was a member of the Daughters of the Revolution because her great grandfather was a surgeon for the American Army at the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Yep. I have a relative. That's one of those.
Yeah. So she set the record straight.
Yeah, you gave them information that
they didn't have. Yes. We kind of set the record straight. We gave all that information to the college, so hopefully they pass that on. But it's just interesting stuff that we do out there. We have fun with it, and that's a good time. And
that's awesome.
These shows, and that story is, I think I have that story in the book. But that's regarding the book. I mean, it covers a lot of stuff. It covers that. It covers equipment. It covers pretty much everything. So it's Paranormal Research. You can find all my stuff on Amazon.com. Just type in Jack Kenna under search, and the books will come up. I also have Hauntings, Ghosts, and Demons out there. That's another book. And I have a graphic novel out there as well called Spirits of Forgotten Souls and Faith Paths. So check them out. They're out there. There's more coming. Huh?
What is your new book about?
I can't say it. I don't
Not
want to
even
say it.
us?
The Secret Notebook.
Secret Notebook. Well, actually, Ellen is in the book, so there's some things going on.
Well, that's awesome. And
I just
thank
don't
you so
want
much
to give away
for
the concept yet because somebody else might I could write that book. I'm keeping it a little bit under wraps right now.
That's unique.
In a few more months, I've probably got three more months. I'll be able to start telling people, and we'll get it out there. I think people are going to find it very unique because it's more about certain people in the paranormal.
When investigators go bad.
No, that's not what it's about. It is about certain individuals and certain how it affected the paranormal has affected their lives. Things like that. So it's a little bit different perspective on it. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I think people might find it very
Sounds different.
And they're true stories. They're all true stories. So you didn't hear it. No, you didn't. Yeah.
That'll be good. I look forward to hearing about that.
Yeah, so that's what's going on. And then we got tons of events. Both Ellen and I, and some together and some separate. And just go to spiritsofnewengland.org and check all those out. I also have my own website now called jackkenna.org, and you can go there and see what I just personally got going on with TV shows and stuff like that. But we keep updating both websites, so everything's there. You can get to it. But if people are looking to book me for something, go to my webpage, jackkenna.org, check what my schedule is and see if I'm available.
Excellent. I have been to the spiritsofnewengland.org page and saw the Hello EVP that's on the front page. I had a little trouble with it the other day.
Yeah.
I got a little confused with our messaging, so I apologize about that.
Yeah, my name, no problem. My name gets called out a lot with EVPs and stuff like that when it was Hello Jack.
Oh,
and that was at the Dean Winthrop House.
That was one of our first investigations.
Yeah, and it was the very first. It was the only EVP, the only thing we got that kind of night. That first night we investigated there.
It was a British woman, and we're all talking down the basement, and we played that back, and you hear, "Hello, Jack."
Yeah,
and it's like, really?
Yeah, we were actually sending everything out. We were just picking up equipment.
What do you think when you get your name called in an EVP? Because this just recently happened to somebody who's real close to me. Doing sort of an investigation for her, and she's called out 3 times in about 20 minutes. It's a little disconcerting in a way. So that's the first time I've actually seen that many times.
Didn't you say I got an EVP? And my name was in an EVP?
Yeah, yours was in one too. Yeah.
You're very late, Ellen. Oh, not her again.
Yeah. He said your name. He said, I get my name all the time. I even had it with, because I've run into some more really negative cases where my given name has been said, either on EVP or through a device. And
I've actually heard you talk about that. That's kind of why I brought it up.
Happened. Yeah, because I don't use my. Everybody knows me as Jack, right? But my given name is John, and that came through many times with people who investigate for. Don't know. They don't know. They know me as Jack. They don't know my. And when that comes through, I know I'm dealing with something else because they know my name without it ever being said. You know, they know who you are.
Without being your common name.
Yes. Yeah. They know my given name. Yeah. So you know you're dealing with something else when you're that type of stuff starts.
Being a common name, maybe that's more acceptable. The spirit could be around, would hear you say it. You know, hear other people say it, I should say.
It's my full name, first and last name.
Right.
And usually that, usually that indicates that something negative is around. And these are darker cases too. And so that happened. I also had my son's name. I had my name, and then I had my son's name come through, and it didn't dawn on me right away. And I'm like, who in the family is this name? And I'm like, because it was Josh. It's Joshua. And it didn't dawn on me. I said, is that a threat? Yes. Immediately after I said it. Like,
well, that's kind of telling, right?
Yeah. So that's definitely telling. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Is that a threat? Yes. And it literally came through, and it was a deep, growly voice.
That's spooky. I mean, that would raise the hairs on my arm. And
well, yeah, it kind of did, but you know.
I gotta hear.
Yeah. Well, we keep going because it's like you have to have faith. I mean, one of the things I always write for people, like people ask for autographs, I put my name and said, to whoever, faith is strength, Jack Kenna. And I believe that. Faith is, this is a spiritual realm, right, that we're talking about. And we're talking about people's, if you believe in spirits, we're talking about people's souls, right? We're talking about an afterlife. And it's a spiritual realm. So you have to have faith. You have to have belief if you're going to really work in this realm to have any kind of protection at all. Spiritual protection, right? So, I mean, that's what I push part of what I talk about when I talk about at lectures is believe in something. And now I'm not touting my own religion. I'm saying believe in something. I don't care what it is, as long as it's positive, that you can ground yourself with when you're working. Because you're going to want something to help protect you. Because if you don't, you don't know what's going to attach itself to you,
Right. And I know we're a little over time, but we're willing to talk about it.
I'll kind of leave you with that because that's kind of to me, that's one of the most important things if you're going to work in this field is to make sure you're grounded in something positive to protect yourself spiritually. And I'll leave you with that.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. I was
leave with
attachments, but I know you guys need to investigate, and
yes, we got to get
plans, and I don't want to keep you, but I so appreciate you coming on here.
It was nice to talk to you.
Yeah, it was really nice to talk to you, Ellen, and of course you too, Jack, and I really appreciate this.
Oh, anytime. We'll come back.
Sounds great. You guys have a great night, and thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. You too. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Wow, that was just a great interview. Really enjoyed that hour with them, with Jack and Ellen. You can find out more about what they're up to and see one heckin' cool website at spiritsofnewengland.org, O-R-G. They've got an EVP on the front page. There's case notes, for like 3 different cases, I believe. Very interesting stuff, very thorough and informative website, spiritsofnewengland.org. See what Jack and Ellen are up to. I really enjoyed that. We had a few technical difficulties. I apologize. That's the nature of Skype and the interwebs. They were on location at the Lookout House, as you know, if you listen to that. So, all things considered, I think we pulled that together really, really well. We covered a lot of ground. I love talking about instigating versus, say, provocation. Jack talked about from his current book. I am not a provoker. I do not approve of provoking. The things you see on TV are just either simply not real when you see it, or it's some exaggerated situation where, the team is facing a, demon that's throwing bricks at them in a trolley or something and is trying to kill them. So maybe the provocation in that instance would be okay. But that's not the same thing as the kind of investigations that most of us are going on. If you are contacting spirit at all, it is probably a spirit, maybe related to the family or does not have ill intent. There's no reason to think that, ghosts are evil. They aren't. And there's more of them, math tells us, than there are of us. Certainly a whole lot more people have died than are alive on this planet right now. So respect them. Respect them. It could be your long lost aunt or something, your grandmother you're talking to. So you don't really want to be provoking. Instigating, this is a more of an interesting take on it, a way of getting maybe more information, find out what, should you believe that there actually is some sort of haunting occurring, why they're there, what's the message, that kind of thing. I think that's great, but provoking, not so much. All right, and rant. We talked about tools, and that was very interesting, and the apps, and Jack is fond of Ghost Radar. And as I had mentioned, he's taken some flack for that. I noticed some other interviews that he's done. There's no reason for that. There is something for these apps. There is something to them working, and I've seen evidence of it. I think anything can work. Divining rods work. Ouija boards work. And what is that? It's a cardboard. It's a planchette. It's a piece of plastic. It's not truly a portal to hell. So, anything can be a tool. You can turn anything into a tool. You can get results from a flashlight. EMF meters were not designed to be quote unquote ghost detectors, right? But we all use EMF meters. So why should we be down on, an app? I'd say in the last year, I've really, turned around on this. And the reason why I think I just wasn't buying into them was because of just the way my mind works and logic. Logically, the idea of a random word generator, just like how is the ghost going to go in there? The spirit's going to talk through it. It's complicated. It's a computer program. These kind of things would go through my head, and it logically didn't make sense to me. So I never really got good results with them. That's kind of why I was saying what I did. I do think belief in the tool, confidence in it, a knowledge that it can actually work, goes a long way, which is not to say, like Jack pointed out, that, you couldn't hand your phone to somebody with Ghost Radar on it and have it work. Of course you could. I think the tools, though, my point would be that they would work more consistently with a person that's maybe more comfortable with them. In the end, it's up to spirit, right? If they want to talk to you, communicate to you through whatever tools you're using. But those tools could be anything. It could be a pendulum. I mean, it could be flipping coins. There's a lot of options there. You do want to put the app, or I should say your cell phone or your tablet, into airplane mode. That's a great point. I do know that some of the apps do track your location. They use the GPS, and that opens up the idea that they could throw relevant words if there is, say, a random word generator to you. For instance, if you were at Lizzie Borden House in Fall River, Massachusetts, you may start getting not so random phrases like, get the axe, 40 whacks, things like that, right? You want to eliminate that possibility, keep it in airplane mode. That way the app can't track you, doesn't know who you are. And hopefully your communications are actually more genuine, coming from spirit. So, yeah, I've changed my mind on this. I've seen too many good results with things like EchoVox, and Tim Weisberg has posted some great stuff about EchoVox, and I messed around with it myself recently, and I found that I was starting to get some results. So it's not necessarily my favorite tool, but I like it. I can respect it. I can believe in some of the data collected from the apps. So there you have it. Certainly you have legitimate investigators using it, like Jack Kenna, So it doesn't get more legit than that. Give it a shot. See if it works for you guys. It's short money. Just certainly something you can try, right? Yeah, we covered a lot of stuff. The Lookout looks amazing. The Lookout House itself. You can find out more information on that on Facebook. You can reach out to Pam and Steve Barry directly through it's facebook.com/hauntedvictorian, as in Victorian House, is I think the best place. They also have a website at I think it's GettysburgGhostExchange.com. There may be a store there where you could buy some paranormal gear and find out about the Lookout. Really good stuff. I know on the Facebook page there's a nice big picture of it, and it looks really cool. So I'm kind of psyched out. I'm going to talk to them and try to stay there this year. Maybe a little later in the spring. Anyhow, I've also got a book review for you. Dun dun dun. And I am reviewing Paul Stanley's book, Face the Music, A Life Exposed, the autobiography of Paul Stanley, legendary guitar player and vocalist for the rock band Kiss. Okay, this was a great book. I gotta tell you, I enjoyed the hell out of this. I am not a huge Kiss fan, not anymore. I was when I was like a little kid, and nothing against current older Kiss fans, but that's when I was into them. It was the 1970s. They were kind of in their heyday, and I used to draw their faces on my homework. I remember getting in trouble for this and doing it again and getting in more trouble for this. I had a little rock and roll spirit even there in like first grade, because I think I was into them from like first to like fourth grade, something like that. Had all the records, Kiss Alive, Detroit Rock City, and Dress to Kill, all the great records. Love the band then, but they're really kind of been off my radar up until very recently. They're doing a farewell tour. They call it the End of the Road tour, and I've seen some clips from it. It looks like an amazing show, and I was reminiscing a little bit. It's kind of like, man, I should go see Kiss, at least see them once, because I've never seen them. And they were on my mind a little bit, kind of brought them back onto my radar, and I came across this book, right? So the book itself, it's like having this it feels like an honest heart-to-heart conversation with this guy, Paul Stanley, just telling you everything about himself from the time he was like a little kid up until his, current times, or whatever the publication of the book is. And he's more of a family man now, and He's into his kids, which I can relate to. In fact, there were a lot of things in the book I could relate to. It was very, very cool. Very cool. And again, it felt honest, right? And I know he has a ghostwriter or a collaborator on there with him, of course. These guys always do. But the feel of the book is genuine, and he pulls no punches. I mean, he racks on Peter Criss, in particular, Ace Frehley. They had all kinds of drug and alcohol problems and rock and roll ego problems, and they were very difficult to work with. It goes into all that with a lot of examples and that kind of interesting backstory. He talks about Eric Carr, and Eric had died of cancer, and I would have thought he would have just said all this great stuff about Eric and probably nothing else, right? But no, he kind of points out that he was sort of a weird guy and some of the problems they had with him too, and adjusting to being in a band like Kiss. Again, it felt honest, right? And what I found even more surprising, I should say, is how much he beats up on Gene Simmons, right? Who he still works with and is the other, founding member of Kiss that are still out there and doing it all these years later, 45 plus years later, whatever it is. He pulls no punches, and he's hard on Gene and Gene's ego, and calls Gene out, where he thought he was, full of crap. And it's really interesting. Another interesting bit is Paul Stanley was born deaf in one ear. He's got a deformed ear. I didn't know this, right? And he couldn't wait to grow long hair to cover the thing. But how hard would it be to be a professional musician and the caliber, the success of a band like Kiss? Like, how hard would it be to attain that when you're deaf in one ear, right? Amazing, just amazing. And he talks about being the Phantom and Phantom of the Opera in a production, and the revelations there. And it's a lot of self-discovery through his life about, wants versus needs and all kinds of detail. Goes into Bill Aucoin, who was like the fifth member of Kiss. He was their manager for years and years, and really pushed them in some brilliant directions, at least initially. Very interesting book. I couldn't put it down. Loved it. And best of all, I read it for free. So here's the deal. If you have a Prime account, just a standard Prime account, 2-day shipping. I'm not talking about the Kindle Unlimited account, which costs additional money. Just a straight up Prime account. You have this book available to you. I didn't realize it until very recently when I found this, that there's actually a small library of books that are available to Prime members. And they're good books. There's a lot of great stuff in there. I've had no trouble picking out some things to read, including this. Dig down into your Amazon membership and you can find that. Look for Prime Reading, and that'll give you access to the books that you can, virtually check out and put in your account. You can read them on your Kindle if you have a Kindle. You can install the Kindle app on your computer, your phone, tablet. It's free, and read these books. So, great book. Hope you enjoy it. And if you, are not like a hardcore Kiss fan, I think you'll still like this book. I loved it. If you are a hardcore Kiss fan, you've probably already read it, right? So, there you have it. Paul Stanley, Face the Music, A Life Exposed. So I'm sitting here with Kristen.
Hi.
Hey, Kristen. So we recently did a EVP and Spirit Box session at your house because it seemed like you were getting a lot of activity. Now, I know your house has always had seemingly a little bit of activity in it, but in the last few months it seems like it's grown some, right?
Yes.
What kind of things have been happening?
Well, we used to hear footsteps going up and down the stairs, and nobody being there. But recently, it's been a lot more that happening. The lights are constantly going on and off now. They never did that before. I have this clock, and it has a pendulum on it, and it needs a battery to put in order for the pendulum to swing. And one night I was sitting there, and it was about 3 minutes of midnight, and the pendulum just started to go back and forth on its own, and there was no battery in the clock.
And that's a little weird, for sure.
Yes, and I left it, and it went for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've had more bangs and knocks and...
Yes, they're...
footsteps in the stairway coming up to the front door.
They're knocking on walls.
The clock started working on its own without a battery, and it was something about the refrigerator too, right?
Right. It was like the next day after the clock, I was sitting there, and it was at nighttime, and everybody was sleeping, and I can see the refrigerator from where I am in the living room, and the refrigerator door just came flying open. And there was no explanation for that. And that's when I decided to have you come over and just for the, increasingly activity. That was kind of scary.
That was kind of the
straw
straw that broke the paranormal camel's back. So I came over. We did do a session. And we didn't spend a lot of time. We just did a 20-minute EVP and Spirit Box session. And I may link that full session to our listeners eventually when we get this up and running with a web page. I'm not sure I'm going to do it. It might be on Facebook or YouTube or something, but I'll point that out at another time. You'll be able to find it. Regardless, this interview, we're going to interject some of these EVPs so that they're in here for our listeners.
Awesome.
Now, within seconds, really, of starting this session, we actually got our first EVP. And you were asking me about the lights, and these happen to be the same lights that often flicker, right? Which is like a row of track lighting.
Yes.
With like 4 or 5 lights.
It's 3 lights.
Is it 3 lights?
It's 3 lights because when they do put it on, the spirits, the ghosts, whatever, they only put on 2.
Right.
Instead of the middle third one.
The other one won't light up.
No.
But it does work, and, it'd be easy enough to debunk. This is like, well, it's poor electricity, a bulb's loose, something like that, but... No. Anyways, the point we were trying to make, though, was that you were asking me if you should turn them off, you know, for the, atmosphere or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then right there at the front of the tape within seconds, you hear what sounds like, Chris, just wait. Mm-hmm. You hear a voice. So I'll put that EVP here.
The light?
No, it's okay. We can leave it on. We're going to pick up a lot of that. So, so our listeners could hear it, and hopefully they have now. And it has that kind of whispery voice that I hear in a lot of the EVPs that I've captured and other people do. But it's distinct, and you can hear us both talking, yet there's this other voice that says, Chris, just wait.
The light?
No, it's okay. We can leave it on. We're going to pick up a lot of that. So we'll get to that. Then we have a clear EVP of it saying, "Hey, Kristen," mm-hmm. and you got to hear your name back, which I know is a little unsettling.
It is, yes.
Now, at the time, we didn't hear that. We didn't hear that part of it till we played it back.
Could you please answer my 3 questions I've been asking you? Could you please answer my 3 questions I've been asking you?
Now, when we started getting real-time responses is when we turned the Spirit Box on, and then you actually hear your name,
Yes.
All right, Kristen, and I'll play that bit for everyone now. Can't wait to play it back. And there's actually a little bit more to that. And we thought it just said Kristen, but if you listen close, the music and other things that are going on the radio seem to say "help me" twice after that. So the full sentence is really like, Kristen, help me.
Help me, please.
Yeah. Can't wait to play it back.
Sounded like Kristen.
Can't wait to play it back.
Sounded like Kristen.
And then a little after that, we hear a little bit of noise, and then we hear a voice that sounds to me like an old woman's voice saying, "It's funny." And there's a little story to that, right? Because prior to doing the investigation, you were telling me about all this activity, and I actually suggested that maybe you talk back to the spirit in your house.
Sure.
You were pretty confident that there was something there, and I said, well, Chris, why don't you talk to it? Say hello, treat it like a family member.
And I did.
And just have conversations, as nuts as that may seem. But I think one of the things you were saying was it's funny, right?
The day before, yes, that we did the investigation, I was making a joke. And I was, by myself, and I was talking to them, and I made a joke, and I laughed, and I said, "It's funny, laugh." And it came back where they said on the EVP, "It's funny."
Or in the spirit box, yep.
Yes.
It sounds on the spirit box.
And
it does sound to me, it sounds very much outside the radio, like it doesn't sound like one of the channels. And it's, I played it over and over. It sounds like this kind of, there's no woman's voice saying it's funny now. Some of the people that maybe on the actual, maybe doing this activity, we thought might be your father, who, I'm sorry, had passed away some years ago.
Thank you, yes.
And in that same room that we did the recording, I know you have a lot of pictures of him, sort of a shrine, or what I call a hereditary altar, which I'm a fan of.
Thank you.
Good. And I think it helps people keep in contact with their loved ones when they're passed on. And that's in there. And one of the things that we asked, or I asked if there were members of your family here, and the spirit box came back right away and said, Thomas. What members of Kristen's family are here?
Thomas. Oh my God.
And that was his name, right?
And that's my dad's name, yes.
So we think Thomas may be part of it. And what members of Kristen's family are here?
Thomas. Oh my God.
Possibly even an aunt of yours too?
Yes, my aunt.
And is that Hazel?
Yes.
Now, I'm wondering if Hazel's the one that says it's funny, because that to me sounds like a little older woman's voice.
And it sounds like something she would say as well. She's, great personality. And I think myself, when I'm listening back to these over and over again, she has also said a couple of other things. I can hear the same voice. So I'm wondering if it is my Aunt Hazel.
Does it sound a little like her voice?
It does. It sounds a lot like her.
That's interesting. Now, when we first did the recording, it's been a few weeks and you've gotten to settle down. I know you were pretty shaken up by the whole thing, because you're not a big fan of the paranormal.
No, I'm not.
And why is that?
Because in my childhood, we lived in another older house that was built in 1765. And a fortune teller and a witch owned this house. So I remember my mom saying when I was really little that this house was haunted and it had activity in it and stuff. And I never really thought of it that way, I just blocked that out. But when I was about 5 years old, my mom had company over and she called my name. I was upstairs in my bedroom. And I remember heading towards the stairs and I said, yes, Mom. And all of a sudden, something from behind me, like two really, really, big hands, just heaved me, just pushed me, and I ended up going down the stairs.
That sounds pretty traumatizing.
It was very traumatizing. And ever since then, when I can feel like, presence, around me or anything, I don't want to engage with it, anything to do with it, because I'm just so traumatized, like you said.
Right. And as long as I've known you, and I've known you quite a while, you've never been a big fan of this paranormal stuff that, of course, is my interest, so it's kind of that opposites attract type thing, because
right.
You can tolerate my presence, but you never really were into the paranormal stuff.
Not at all. Not until the activity it's been increasing at my house now.
Right. We always felt there was something there, but it did seem like in the last few months it's increased for whatever reason. So we don't really know what that reason is yet.
I'm wondering if it has to do with they want me to help them. Kristen, please help. What freaked me out the most was the ones that were whispered right into the recorder. Everything else is going on, the Jack Hack and us speaking, but there's so many of them that are whispered right into the recorder. That's why I got really kind of taken back and shaken up.
Right.
Like you said, it's all fun and games till they talk back. So, yes.
Exactly. So I know that because the activity was disconcerting to you, I had suggested maybe to stop talking to them.
Yes.
And just stop giving them attention and more or less starve them out, if you will. How has that worked out?
It's not working out well at all. There's more knocks on the walls, and the lights are still going on and off, but more frequently now. And
more flickering?
Yes. And I've decided, after I spoke with you, that I'm sorry, but I just have to talk to him again because, So I started talking to him a couple of days ago. Let's see how that works out.
All right, great. And now you've got a digital recorder. You're going to do some more recording on your own.
Yes, thank you for letting me borrow that.
And we'll see. I think there'll be a part 2 to this.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And with that, I'm going to conclude this episode of the Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. My name is Chris Carr. I'd like to thank my guests tonight, Jack, Ellen, and Kristen. You can find Jack and Ellen at spiritsofnewengland.org. Jack is also at jackkenna.org. You can search me out on social media, Dark Horse Paranormal Podcast. My YouTube channel's up. In fact, I just put a video out there last week of my Mel meter, which has a REM pod attachment, acting really in a bizarre fashion after doing a session here at my residence. And that may be the theme of next week, the perils of investigating your own residence. I mentioned Tim Weisberg earlier. You can find Tim at SpookySouthCoast.com, and you can find his radio show on AM 1420. Awesome show, great bunch of guys working there. You can email me at dhparanormal@gmail.com. If you have something you'd like me to review or just want to reach out to me, dhparanormal@gmail.com. Most of all, I'd like to thank you for listening and making this possible. Please like and subscribe wherever you might be listening to this, whether it's YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever. Give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. Stay safe, folks. We'll see you in about 2 weeks.